Hi guys, Jared Evans here, real estate agent with Shiloh Street out of Seattle, Washington. And here at Shiloh Street, we wanted to have some educational videos to give you the ground truth, if you will, on what it takes to buy a house and talk a little bit about should you be buying a house or should you continue renting, the pros and cons with that. So we'll start things off here quickly because I don't want to take too much of your time. What does it take to buy a house? I broke it down to 4 ingredients. First of all, you need to be able to stay in that house for 3 to 6 years. The reason for that is you need time for that house to appreciate enough to cover the moving costs. So that's generally what it takes. That the general window is 3 to 6 years for that to happen in order to cover those moving costs from selling it, rental, moving fees, the whole 9 yards. That's what it takes. Second, it takes a savings account. You need to have some money in the bank that can help you with some of the incidentals with buying a house. And owning a house. Things you don't necessarily think about all the time when buying a house is going to be the closing costs, homeowners insurance, and property tax. Those are things that people don't generally think about, and they can be rather astronomical in price when you're going ahead and buying that house. Good thing is that property tax and any interest that's paid on the mortgage is a tax deduction. So there's light at the end of the tunnel for the homeowner at that point in time. But something to think about during the purchase thing. As a homeowner, there are fees that you don't necessarily think about also. That is maintenance fees. Hey, do I have I have to spend money to buy air filters? Got to spend money to buy light bulbs. I got to spend money on a lawnmower to mow my lawn. Gas for that. Weed eater. All those things are maintenance fees that don't necessarily something people don't think about. I have to buy a ladder in order to get up to the roof to clean out the gutters to make sure my gutters don't overflow and cause roof problems. Just a maintenance fee. Obviously, there's repair fees that are involved with this. What happens if a tree goes through the window? What happens if something happens to the garage? A water main bursts. Those are all things I have to financially be set up for and have a savings account for to allow that to happen. Otherwise, it could financially cripple me on that. Further, as a homeowners, you may have to, depending on where you buy your home, you may have to deal with HOAs, homeowner association, the fees. Sometimes they're monthly or they're yearly. These cover, common area type stuff, sidewalks, cul-de-sacs. If there's a community center, there's fees associated with that. Same thing with condo fees. Covers the same thing. There's little things you got to start thinking about that may not necessarily be on there with this. So the third ingredient, you need to be smart with your money, right? And understand that if you start buying a house, that it's a forced savings plan. Meaning every month I pay a mortgage, it goes into this house, it goes into this house. And so after the maturity of this house happens and the maturity of the mortgage happens, I potentially will be able to sell this house and get all that money back, plus some interest. Logical. Everybody understands that. Well, where it gets kind of hinky is when people start adding in lines of credit on the house, second mortgages on the house, equity loans on the house, all those types of things that take away from that savings thing. So at the end of the day, if you do a 30-year loan, 30-year mortgage, you pay that off, but and then you try and sell it, and you're supposed to net $50,000, but you had $45,000 in lines of credit on the house. You will lose. It takes it back down to you're only going to net $5,000 out of that. Is that $5,000 going to cover the closing costs? Something you need to think about. And the fourth ingredient to think about when you're buying a house is you have to be stoked about it. You have to have that homeowner's enthusiasm, the homeowner's psychological stability for it. There's a lot of things going to happen in a house that you are now own and you're going to be in charge of. Not to mention there's a lot of different rules out there. You have your HOAs. Not only they sometimes cost money, but they may have some various rules on how your lawn can be there. They won't allow certain things in the lawn. They won't allow this. Those types of things. There also may be these things called CCRs, which are conditions, covenants, and restrictions that the developer of that subdivision has put in place on that property. Generally speaking, they may be something like can't have a fence higher than 7 feet. Can't have a detached garage. Those are part of CCRs. The city may also have rules on there, where, like for example, in Federal Way, Washington, you cannot build a shed that's larger than 10 foot by 10 foot unless you get a permit from the city allowing you to do that. Again, you have to have that mentality like you're stable and you can handle that kind of stuff and you're stoked to be a homeowner. So those are things out there. Now, you know, a lot of those ingredients, you may be stoked and you may be, you know, pretty smart with your money, but you may not just have the financial means to make those first two ingredients out there. So that's where renting comes involved. And there's nothing wrong with renting at all, especially if you are, hey, moving towards buying a house. You know, or you live in one of those cities where it's just almost impossible to get a house. You start talking about San Francisco, New York City, Honolulu, L.A., all those types of things where buying a house is just financially not going to happen. I mean, you start looking at the average house prices in the last 2 years has gone up 16%, where the rent in the last 2 years has only gone up 1.2%. So in the short-term gains, you're actually going to be making money or saving more money on doing that. So maybe a renting is going to be a better thing for you. Renters don't have to worry about property tax, maintenance fees, repair fees, all those little nuances that homeowners will. And you know, and renters, they're mobile. They can they can leave anytime they want. They generally don't have to pay 1 month's rent, and they can get out of there and go to something new. So these are just some things you need to think about. Obviously, you know, home ownership or renting, there's no right or wrong answer to this stuff, but I just want to make sure you guys have the beta to make good decisions. And keep following us here at Shiloh Street. We're going to do a lot more of these videos on a similar type of, you know, the real estate dilemmas for potential homeowners. And so you can follow me on Shiloh Street, or you can follow me on my blog, which is www.symbioticrelations.com. All right, guys, have a good day out there, and good luck.